Hi, everybody. It's Jen Wilson here with Leadership Lunch Chat. My good friend Amy Vetter is on vacation or traveling today and wasn't able to make it, but we'll be back together as a couple doing Leadership Lunch Chat next Friday, the 13th. Meanwhile, I thought I would just take a few minutes, certainly not our normal length of lunch chat, but just a few minutes and have a conversation with you about my favorite leadership distinction and maybe my motto, my personal motto, the idea of being unstoppable. And I want to talk to you about it from a business perspective, but also a personal perspective. So, I realize that so many of the people that I talk to these days in public accounting and consulting, and really in all walks of life, because of the pandemic, feel maybe overwhelmed and a little bit burnt out and just wondering, like, what's next? How do I shift my circumstances? How do I make things better? We're short staffed in many firms today. We're trying to figure out the capacity problem, trying to figure out how to do innovative things like increase automation, considering outsourcing and offshoring. We're looking at ways to bring in non-CPAs into the workflow. We're looking at making some key strategic hires, or maybe adding a full-time recruiter, or shifting to a more focused business model, maybe actually having some clients exit the business so we can get the capacity right size. There's all these wonderful ideas that can solve some of our challenges and problems, but they feel daunting. They feel like big, huge things to take on. And sometimes we can be frozen or stopped by the idea that, man, I don't have time for this, or I don't have, we don't have the resources or the energy, or how are we going to get this done? How will we make these changes? And we can spend so much time sort of cycling this idea of we can't, and letting that be our internal dialogue, maybe letting it be our verbal dialogue, that we start really believing it. And so I was raised, fortunately for me, by a woman, Della Lee, my mother, who was, for whatever reason, a big believer and a big follower of a variety of sort of positive thinkers. And Norman Vincent Peale is sort of the father of the positive thinking movement. And she raised me with a few phrases, and my brothers and sisters too, and anybody else she could influence, that really made a difference for me. And she raised me with one that's like, if you can see it, you can be it. So the idea of visual imagery. And so I want to call all of us to, if you've got a big goal, you've got something you really want to happen, I want you to start visualizing it. I want you to start creating mental pictures of that really wonderful goal. So I'm a runner. I'm going to use some analogies from my personal life. I'm a runner personally, and sometimes I have a time-based goal if I'm going to race, and I try to visualize myself running toward the finish line, and I try to picture what the clock says, and I try to picture the first numbers on the clock, or the first few numbers of the clock, and I start to manifest that visual image in my mind, trying to get myself to believe that a new time goal is possible. And at my age, I'm supposed to be getting slower, but I want to get faster, so that could feel impossible. But visual imagery helps. So if you can see it, you can be it. How could we create visual images in our minds of some of the things we need to tackle at work or in our personal lives? And then the other is, if you believe it, you'll achieve it. So that's the second part of that. If you can see it, you can be it. If you believe it, you'll achieve it. And so belief, how do you believe something? You start by verbally believing it, or starting to use affirmative language, they call it. So instead of I can't, I work out with a guy sometimes. I haven't been doing it because I haven't been going to the gym, but when I was working out with him, he made us do 20 push-ups anytime we used the word can't. If he heard the word can't, you were down doing push-ups. And I love that, because that's kind of honoring the idea that language can cause our reality. We can believe something because we keep saying it. So what could we do to shift our language to begin believing and getting our people and our clients and the people in our families and our friends to believe something that we're going to accomplish? So visual imagery, and then this idea of creating beliefs by really looking at your internal self-dialogue, but also what you're verbally saying, and start striking out that negative language that sounds so hopeless and defeated. I try to say to myself when I'm wondering if something can happen, or if I start to feel a little bit like it can't happen, I keep reminding myself that I am unstoppable. And that's part of my positive affirmative language. I can be unstoppable. I am unstoppable. Our team is unstoppable. My clients are unstoppable. And so maybe that word would help you. I don't know, but it certainly helps me. I am training for a 50K, which is 31.1 miles of running. And I've done 3 full marathons in the last, let's say, 5 years. So I believe that adding on another 5 miles is possible. I also, though, am scared of it. And I'm having to train a lot. And I don't have much time. And I don't have free time, really. And I'm back to some business travel again, back starting to have that road warrior lifestyle. And I'm having to do long runs. I'm having to get to like the 30, 40, 50-mile weeks in terms of running. And that's a lot to fit in, like I'm going to get up and do a quick run of 10 in the morning now and things like that. So I've had to have a lot of self-conversation about unstoppable. And, I know it's hard, and I know it's a lot of miles, and I know you're busy, Jen, but you're unstoppable. You'll fit it in. You'll find a way. And, I'll give you one example and then I'll let you go. But I came home from a trip on Sunday. It was a road trip, so there was driving involved. And my husband and I drove 6 hours, and I needed to get a 2.5-hour run in. And I had intended to do it over the weekend during that trip, but there were Canadian fire smoke in the area that I was in, and severe weather warnings and air quality warnings and that sort of stuff. And I did some treadmill running while I was up there, but I wasn't going to do 2.5 hours on the treadmill. So I did the road trip home, 6.5 hours or so with my husband. And then when we got home at 6:30 at night or 7 o'clock at night, I put my tennis shoes on and I went out and did the 2.5 hours, and I didn't want to. And I wondered if I could. I was kind of worn out from the trip and worried about my ability to do it, but I just kept saying, you're unstoppable. You're going to be unstoppable. This is an unstoppable feat. And, normal people wouldn't do this. This is perfect for you. Get in there, get it done, Jen. And I just kept giving myself positive self-talk, and I ended up getting it done. I came back at an hour and a half, 8 miles and 9 miles, something like that, to refuel my liquids. And my husband was like, don't you think you could quit now? An hour and a half is pretty good. You don't need to go out there in the dark and do that last hour. So, while he's super supportive of me, he was trying to be helpful and get me rest and stuff. But, his message, like, it's okay, you can quit. I stopped right there and listened to that for a second. And then I said to him, I can't quit. I committed to myself. I have another hour. I'll be back, and it was awesome. I got out there and did it. I don't always achieve my unstoppable goals, but with visual imagery, with verbal positive self-talk, and with support and commitment from other people around me, when I tell them what my goals are, I can get it done most of the time. And I wonder, what are you doing? What are you up to in your personal life that you really want to get done? How could you be more unstoppable? How could you be more positive? And also, what do you want to get done at work? How can we band together in these very important proactive initiatives that we have to get done in order to change our business models? And how could we pick one and start being unstoppable and relentless in our implementation of it? I believe that we're capable of super incredible, uncommon things when we shift the mental game and the verbal game. And I hope you'll join me in doing that. And I'd love your feedback on this. I'd love to hear whether or not any of these ideas are helpful to you. I'd love you to share your own stories, because I need them and I will benefit from them, of being unstoppable. And I look forward to being with you next Friday with Amy, where I'm sure we're going to catch up on all the cool things that we heard and saw at the AICPA Engage Conference. Until then, have a great weekend and a great week ahead. Thanks so much. Bye now.